Today, I want to talk about an unsung hero in the Bible, Eutychus, whose name means, in effect, good fortune, well-fated. Eutychus. Let's talk about Paul's ministry when he was traveling and wound up in the city of Troas on the, I believe it's on the Aegean Sea in what is today Turkey. And if you think about the Sabbath, as the Sabbath ends, a new day begins, a new week begins. So on Saturday night, it is often customary among Sabbath keepers to gather together for a dinner on Saturday evening. In the Hebrew-speaking world, this is called the Malava Malka, which is accompanying the queen. You know, we're saying goodbye to the Sabbath. In the yeshiva world, in my community, we used to get together and we'd have refreshments, we'd have singing, and we'd have, of course, some kind of discussion, a lecture, a sermon, if you want to call it that, from our rabbi and so on. And this is what was going on, evidently, in Troas. The week had begun, and they're having an evening meeting, probably on a Saturday night. The next morning, Paul was going to travel, and so this was his farewell and to the people. So he was giving a Saturday night discourse, and as you might expect, you know, the people were really interested and probably asking him questions and back and forth. And he was, you know, he tended to wax eloquent. You know, if you read his writings, he can get very enthusiastic and passionate about what he wants to say. And so this discussion went on and on and on into the night, and it went on till midnight. So let's pick it up here. Acts 20, verse 7. Now on the first day of the week, and as I said, it begins on Saturday night, when the disciples came together to break bread. So they're having dinner. As I said, it's probably the Saturday night dinner. Paul ready to depart the next day. So on the daylight portion of that day, he was going to leave. Spoke to them and continued his message until midnight. So he talked until midnight. Wow. But you can understand how that would happen. There were many lamps in the upper room where they were gathered together, and in a window sat a certain young man named Eutychus, who was sinking into a deep sleep. Well, you can understand that. Wow. I mean, it's midnight. He was overcome by sleep, and as Paul continued speaking, he fell down from the third story and was taken up dead. Now, this would really be what a tragedy. Here we have Paul's farewell talk, and he's having a discussion with the brothers and sisters there, and yet here's this young man who you know, just innocently falls asleep, as might happen. It goes on till midnight, but he's in a situation where he's somewhat precariously situated, and he falls and dies. You know, what a horrible tragedy. Well, that's not what happened. It turned out to be something sensational that the Bible records here, that Luke records for us. Verse 10, but Paul went down, fell on him, and embracing him said, do not trouble yourselves, for his life is in him. You know, so Paul prayed, evidently, and God intervened, and he came back to life. So a resurrection, a miracle. Now, you find in the New Testament miracles such as this occur. And here's an example. Now, when he had come up, had broken bread and eaten, and talked a long while, even till daybreak, he departed. So he went on, evidently all the way till the break of day, and then decided to, you know, go on and take his trip. And they brought the young man in alive, and they were not a little comforted. That's kind of an understatement, the way that's sort of the style of Luke. They were not a little comforted. I would say so. Very inspiring account. So Eutychus, just an innocent young man who could very well have been a tragic story, instead is a very inspiring story. So let's give him credit for having been there. Let's give him credit for staying up until midnight. And let's give him credit for being mentioned in the Bible as a great miracle where Paul prayed, he was resurrected from the dead, and it was a very inspiring moment for the entire church, and Paul then was able to go on his way and continue his trip. So let's pay a little bit of respect to an unsung hero of the Bible, a young man named Eutychus.